Hi friend, welcome back to my channel. Today I am making a birthday card for a friend. Her favorite color is purple, and so I am using different shades of purple ink to create a really pretty birthday card. And I am going to be using the press plate for the first time. I haven't played with this since I got it, and I thought it would be a fun time to use it since I just got the Garden Medley press plate from Pinkfresh Studio. I really like the flowers, and I think it will look really good using the press plate. And I have the cotton panels that are really nice and soft, and it just makes the ink look so much prettier. So I'm going to go ahead and place the plate down in the middle there. And then I grabbed my Pinkfresh Studio cube, and it's just small. Like, it's very hard to use the cubes on a large plate like this. So I decided I was going to go ahead and try it, but I'm dabbing the ink and I don't feel like I got enough ink on there. And I dabbed and dabbed, and then I was like, we'll see how it turns out. It's my first time. And then I taped it down, and then I'm going to run this through my big shot. And the ink did not have a nice, even, crisp image. And it's because I used the cubes, which was kind of hard to get all the details on that press plate. So lesson learned. It is my first time to use a bigger stamp pad. So then I had another bigger stamp pad that I'm going to use, and as you can see the difference right there. So you can tell it's going to be a better press. So I'm going to go ahead and tape this down, and then run this through the big shot. And then I'm going to go ahead and lift this up. And I probably should have ran it twice, but lesson learned. But I'm not too worried about it because I do have the layered stencils for the Garden Medley flowers, and I'm just going to be using those to color in the flowers, and you'll hardly notice the faint ink on those flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and tape this down, and I'm just making sure that everything lines up, and I'm making sure that the stencil is not upside down. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the lighter purple, and pretty much I'm working from light to dark. And when I do this, I'm dabbing the ink on the central where there's no images, and then I'm lifting it and I'm going into circles through the flowers lightly so that it's a nice light blend and it looks airy. Whereas if you're going to go heavy-handed, it's going to be a little bit darker, and you may have a couple of blotchy areas. So to prevent that from happening, I just dab the ink on the stencil, and then I'm just lifting the ink from the stencil as I go in circles to color in the flowers. And it takes a few times to get that, but once you get the hang of it, it's super easy. This stencil I struggled with because it wasn't lining up, and then I didn't feel like it was upside down, but I was like tilting it, and then I thought, well, I can just use it and kind of eyeball it, and that did not work because, as you can see, there are a lot of flowers. It just doesn't seem to look right, and the holes didn't line up. So I thought maybe it's just essential. So then I gave up kind of, and I was just like, I'm just going to color them in because I just could not get that to line up. So I'm just grabbing a darker purple, the next shade, And one thing I like about Pinkfresh Studio, their ink, their cubes you can get 4 in a pack, and they all complement each other. It takes the guesswork out of something like this. So I'm just coloring in the petals, and I'm like, this is not gonna work. It's taking so much time. So then I'm like, let me turn it around, and sure enough, it was upside down. So just make sure your stencils are upright. And so I'm not even going to tape this down. I'm just going to get the colors in there and just add in circles all through the circles. And now I'm going to work on the greenery, and I'm making sure that's lined up. I'm going to tape this down. I'm going to use the green ink. I believe this is Stage. And I am just lightly blending all through the stencil. And I'm going into circles, light-handed, not heavy. And I don't want to do heavy-handed because I don't want it to be dark. I kind of want the card to have an airy feel, nice and soft. So then I'm just blending in circles as light as possible, and I'm making sure that I get the stems because I don't want to miss those. The small details are very important for this card. Alright, so that's done. And now I'm going to add another layer of purple using the third one. I'm going to tape this down. Alright. And I dabbed it on the stencil, and now I'm just lifting it from the stencil, and I'm going in circles. And I'm just going through one by one to make sure I color all the flowers. And this is coming along pretty beautifully. I just love it. I love flowers. And I think the hardest part is just finding the colors that you want to use. This is a very simple card. It's just finding the colors you want to go with and getting started. Alright, and then I'm just applying the last of the flowers, blending in circles all throughout, and that's done. And then the next layer for the greenery, and I'm using another shade of green for this. And I'm just coloring in, making sure all the details are colored, and I'm just taking my time. And I'm just dabbing from the stencil through the leaves and just going in circles with a light hand. It's so pretty. I love this green. And this is coming together nicely. Alright, and this is done. Look how pretty that looks. So pretty. Okay, so now we're going to cut this out. And I have the Garden Medley die to cut the flowers out. And I am not going to worry about taping this down because I have the metal platform. And so I'm making sure that's lined up. And then I'm going to place it down. And then I'm going to run that through my Big Shot to cut that out. So nice. And then I'm going to use my piercer, and I'm going to poke out all the white space. And I'm just being very careful not to bend and rip anything. And poking, getting all those out. And then I'm using Taylor Expressions card base to mount this down. First, I'm going to go ahead and add some squares, foam squares to the back. And the reason being is I like to add dimension to the card so it doesn't look flat. So I'm using a lot of them, as you can see. And I'm just covering the whole back there. and it's so worth the time that I put in there because the card is so pretty. Nothing beats a handmade card. I refuse to buy a card when I can make it. Alright, so I'm pulling these all off, and then I'm going to go ahead and carefully place this on the base. Okay. And I missed a few little spots, so I just poked those out real quickly. And now I need to add my sentiment. So we're going to go ahead and stamp that down. And we're going to use purple ink. And I am just going to dab this a few times just so that I get a nice crisp sentiment. And usually it takes me about 3 times. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and punch this out. And I have the metal dies as well to cut the sentiment out. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put that down. And then I'm looking for the right die. And 3rd time's a charm. I'm going to go ahead and tape this down because I do not want this to move when I run it through. And I do it twice. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and peel this off carefully so it doesn't tear. And I'm going to run this through twice just to get 2 more cuts. And the reason being is I'm going to layer these and glue them together to create a nice thick die. So I'm going to glue these together one by one. And there's 3 layers. Okay. And then I'm going to add some foam to the back of this and place it down on the bottom there. And we are almost done. Okay, now I'm going to add some gems, purple of course. Oh my goodness, this is so pretty. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and glue these down. I'm just paying attention to the size of the flower, the center of the flower, so that the gems fit nicely in there. So pretty. And I was going to add some ribbon on the card, but I don't even think it needs it. Like, I just think this is just perfect. Simple and beautiful. And that's what I was going for. I hope she likes this card. And then I use a bone folder to kind of bend that. And there's my card. Thanks so much for visiting today, and I hope I inspired you. Take care.